Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. This is our last hearing this year for the hearing officer. So thank you all for bearing with me throughout the year. And I hope as we move forward, you have happy holidays and enjoy the time off for the remainder of the year. I'm going to read something into the record and then we're going to jump into our brief agenda this afternoon. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statutes and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out the provisions and the intent of the Zoning and Development Code and Tempe City Code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to decide upon the abatement of code violations occurring on properties within the city. These violations include but aren't limited to deteriorated landscaping, inoperable or unregistered vehicles, deteriorated structures, storage of junk or refuse, or deteriorated swimming pools. Abatement actions are brought before the hearing officer by the city's Code Compliance Division, typically after numerous attempts at contacting the property owner to obtain voluntary compliance. The hearing officer may issue an order directing the owner, occupant, rental agent, property manager, or other responsible person to remediate a code violation or authorize the city to abate the property. The cost of the abatement is the responsibility of the owner of the property where the violation occurred and will be collected as an assessment against the property found to be in violation. On today's agenda, we have 4 items. We have a set of minutes from November 15th, 2022, and we also have 3 property abatements. The published agenda showed that we had 4 property abatements, but agenda item number 5, the Cepeda property located at 1168 East Alameda Drive, has been brought into compliance, so that item is no longer on the agenda. Any property owner who's aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. As such, the deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 p.m. on December 20th, 2022. Appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment, after which they may also be appealed to the Supreme Court. The property owner has 14 days to either file an appeal or bring the property into code compliance, and that's 14 days from today. If neither of these things happen by this date that I mentioned previously, December 20th, the property will be abated by the city. To make some introductions, joining me this afternoon from Community Development to my left are Cassidy Hernandez and Drew Yoakum. Thank you both for being here. So that brings us to the first item on our agenda, which is a set of meeting minutes from November 15th, 2022. Cassidy sent those to me shortly after the hearing, and I had a chance to review them. I think that they accurately reflect what took place at that hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes from November 15th, 2022. Agenda item number 2 is a request for approval to abate public nuisance items at the Bay property located at 1509 East Del Rio Drive. The applicant is the City of Tempe Code Compliance Inspector, Melissa Ensing. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Melissa Ensing, and I'm a Code Compliance Inspector with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I'm here this evening to request a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 1509 East Del Rio Drive for deteriorated landscape, trash, and debris in the front and rear yards. This property was originally requested for abatement on September 6th. Since then, we've received complaints for the rear yard. So I'm here to ask for the 180-day open abatement for the rear and front yards. Code Compliance has received a total of 9 complaints on this property. This case was initiated on January 11th, 2022 for an unregistered vehicle lawn parking. I have sent 6 notices to the property owner, along with notices posted to the property. I've spoken with the owner in person twice. I've added new violations to the complaint and gave the owner additional time to comply. I issued 3 citations for this property for deteriorated landscape, trash and debris, deteriorated paint, deteriorated roof, and broken windows. The owner has failed to appear for all 3 civil citations, and all 3 have gone to collection. This complaint has also gone to the prosecutor's office for criminal charges. At this time, I'd like to present photos taken today.
Okay, and I just want to note for the record, even though you mentioned that it started in September, in the packet, I noticed it was in January of this year that you first, had the inkling of an unregistered vehicle. And since then, it's just gotten worse and worse, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So yes, I'd love to see the pictures.
This is an overview of the front of the property. As you can see, some of the grass and weeds growing in the front yard. This is another angle where you can see it growing along the edges. Along with on the side, there's grass and weeds growing in the dirt landscaping. And then, all right. This is closer to the front door. You can see where they started picking up the landscape and they've left it in piles and in the bucket, as well as some trash and debris leaning against the house.
Oh, wow.
This is the rear yard where you can see they have put tents up. I'm not quite sure what this is. To me, it looks like maybe a bedpost that they've
A
put
headboard.
up. Yeah.
So are there people living in those structures?
Possibly. I've
Okay.
seen people there. Today there were people there when we were taking the pictures. Here's more of the trash and debris, the tables, wood piles,
Wow.
tarps.
So yeah, it looks like, to me, like the house has been boarded up and secured, so it's
Yeah.
just people living in the backyard.
Right. I believe they look like they go inside, but I'm not quite sure on that one. And then here's some more trash and debris. That's the rear gate looking in. The gate was deteriorated. They fixed it since the last time.
When you say they, do you mean the property owner?
The
Or just-
owner, yes, he's still on the property. He was there today.
Oh, really?
Right.
And what does he say? What is your dialogue like with him?
He says he's trying to fix up the property. He's been working on it and battling the insurance company. But it seems like every time I go back, there's more items added to the
Right.
property. And I know at one time he had commented on he's going to clean up the landscaping, and he started it and then just never finished.
So then when this abatement occurs, will all of this stuff go away? The tents?
Yes, ma'am.
everything? Okay.
Okay. I have one more picture just to show behind the tents, and you can see some more trash and debris. I'm not quite sure what all of it is, but
Wow.
the whole backyard is covered in miscellaneous items.
Mm-hmm.
So as stated before, I'm seeking a 100-day open abatement for the deteriorated landscaping and the trash and debris for the front and rear yards located at 1509 East Del Rio Drive, Tempe, Arizona.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yocum, is anyone on the line wanting to speak on this agenda item?
No, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, and I'll make a note for the record that there's no member of the public here in attendance this afternoon. Everyone in the audience is staff. So, well, given the fact that the property owner has been, not very responsive to your requests, and it just keeps getting worse and worse, as evidenced by the pictures that you showed me, I'm going to go ahead and approve your 180-day open abatement request contained in application CE 220242.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That brings us to agenda item number 3. This is a request for approval to abate public nuisance items at the Anguisse, I think, Navarro property located at 404 West 6th Street. The applicant is the City of Tempe Code Compliance, represented by Michelle Van Etten. Good
Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Madam Hearing Officer. Nice to see you. As you mentioned, my name is Michelle Van Etten. I'm a code inspector here with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I am here to request a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 404 West 6th Street here in Tempe, 85281, for graffiti and landscape violations. This was a complaint-driven violation that I received April 14th of 2022. The complaint stated that transients had been living in the rear yard and sunroom of the vacant home. There was a broken rear fence where access was being made, and trash and debris and landscaping issues, both front and rear. I worked with the police department and homeless outreach and Care 7 for approximately a month after making contact with the homeowner so that he would feel safe or they would feel safe in going onto the property or having someone else going onto the property and not be surprised by somebody
Okay.
coming out of the sunroom. Once we got the all clear, for lack of better terms, from the police department, I did send a secondary notice and kept in contact with the owner. I sent 3 notices initially and basically came to an understanding with one of the owners, Mr. Navarro, that the priority was to get the rear fence fixed to partially keep the transients from going back and forth into the yard. There's an apartment complex, just a little quad complex, just to the north of this and more to the west of it. So these folks were affected by transients there in the alleyway. So I asked that that gate be taken care of and the front landscaping issues minimally, and that we would then cross the other violations
Right.
down the road. He did take care of the gate getting fixed, which was good, but did not take care of the front landscaping, and I issued a citation for that. He contested the citation, but did not show up to court, Mr. Navarro, but he ultimately did satisfy that citation with the courts. At that point, I kept in constant contact with Mr. Navarro regarding the upkeep of the front and getting the rear yard taken care of, including the landscape and the graffiti. To this day, the back gate is not secured, and it's a chain link fence that can just be open and closed easily, and it does appear people are still kind of going back and forth. Ultimately, I sent an additional final notice to the homeowners requesting that the rear violations be corrected or that I would begin abatement proceedings as I am now. I did, as I mentioned, keep in constant contact with him via multiple phone calls, emails, etc. And I was constantly assured that the items would be taken care of and they were not addressed. So I'm here to have the city intervene on their behalf. I took photographs this morning. I have to
Okay.
show them to you now if I may.
Sure.
So this is from the alleyway. You see the graffiti. It's just a chain link fence. Anyone can get in and out. Most affected are the folks here. There's a quad in a parking lot right here, and there's some young ladies that live just on the other side of the alley. So having these folks come in is a safety issue. This is just a different angle to get a better idea of the graffiti. That lumber there was the rear fence, and it's been inside the gate and outside the gate and inside the gate and outside the gate multiple times. That wasn't on the abatement bid, but I was told from the vendor that they would happily take that
good.
off the property for us. Rear yard, just grass and weeds throughout. Rear yard along the wall, tall grass and weeds throughout. The front yard, much improved, except for this area that's never been taken care of between that and the property to the south of them. And another photo of the front yard. That's the area that's been taken care of for the most part.
Okay.
You can see, I should have zoomed in for you. There's a chair there, sometimes not, and there's trash and debris items. So I think that because it's vacant and the back is not secured, people are still coming and
Right.
going. So I'm asking for a 180-day open abatement for the property at 404 West 6th Street to remedy these violations.
Thank you. So this is a property, just it's vacant for whatever reason, the owner lives somewhere else.
Yeah, they live on another street here in Tempe,
Oh,
which is the other issue. If you're so close, in my opinion, there's no reason to not check on it more frequently.
right. So, okay, thank you very much. Mr. Yocum, is there anyone on the line wanting to speak to this agenda item?
No, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, thank you again. For the record, there's no one here in the chamber from the public wanting to speak on this agenda item. Well, I really agree with your assessment of the property and for the public health and safety of those in this neighborhood. Not just the aesthetics, that's kind of obvious that it needs to be taken care of. But if there are vulnerable people in this area, we really need to do whatever it takes to secure the property, remove any opportunity for hiding places, kind of look at it as like a security through, or what's it called, CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. So I would urge you to work with the vendor to really trim back that landscaping and ensure that there's no places where people can hide in those areas and
Madam
secure
Hearing
the
Officer.
property. So I'm going to obviously go ahead and approve your abatement request. It's 180 days, contained in CE 2224-47. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to our last item on the agenda this afternoon, agenda item number 4, which is a request to abate public nuisance items at the Gay property located at 625 West 3rd Street. The applicant, again, is the City of Tempe Code Compliance and represented again by Michelle Van Etten.
Thank you. Still me, Michelle Van Etten, City of Tempe Code Compliance. As you mentioned, I'm here to request a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 625 West 3rd Street, Tempe 85281. This also was a complaint-driven violation that I received on June 1st of 2022 regarding trash and debris in the rear of the property. I sent 2 notices to the homeowner, the first allowing for 30 days for the property to be cleaned up, the second about 3 weeks, and then a little over a week extension once Mr. Gay phoned me and asked for additional time. I then did a final notice because some of the issues in the rear had trickled out into the front. I do believe he was trying to take the items off the property, but the front was starting to look bad, and so that notice encompassed all of the violations. A citation was issued to the homeowner, Mr. Gay. He was found responsible. He did not take care of the citation, and it went to collections.
Okay.
I've spoken to him via phone and in person. Each time he's assured me that he would work on the property. I do see work being done, but I do not see results. If you compare pictures, there's little to no change in my opinion. This property's been abated in the past. The same owner has received notices for the same violation multiple times.
Okay.
So I feel the only way that the yard's going to get cleared is if the city intervenes. I took pictures this morning, if I may show them
Sure.
to you. So this is looking over the front fence on the north side of the property. Everything from an ironing board to just miscellaneous trash, metals, appliances, just a multitude of items. I know I'm tall, but this is from standing on the sidewalk. It's at an angle and you can see into the backyard. So it's the same picture, just passersby do see it. This is on the west side of the property. I'm standing in the neighbor's driveway. So this is what the neighbor has to see when they pull in and out of their driveway
Every
on a
day.
daily basis. The rear of the property on the south side, it backs up to an apartment complex. These pictures are not great, and I apologize. Limited access to
Sure.
really see much. There's just basically lumber and wood stacked there to the rear. There's some filing cabinets for some reason. And this is the other vantage point that I could get from the rear yard as well, mostly the lumber, like I mentioned. So again, I'm asking for a 180-day open abatement for the trash and debris to the rear at 625 West 3rd Street, Tempe.
So he's taking care of the front. In the packet, there were pictures of the front yard.
Yes, so as I said, those items were temporarily spilled out onto the front and removed. As of today, there was no trash and debris in the front. There was a van temporarily also in the front yard. That was gone. Tall grass and weeds in the front. Those were all covered in the abatement bid.
Okay.
Should we go out to do the abatement and those violations reappear, they can be taken care of at that time.
Okay, because the fact of the matter is they could have gone from the front to the back.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah.
And in all fairness, I do believe that was the issue. They were moving it to a trailer in the front
Right.
and taking it out, but it may take a day or so
Yeah.
for that process.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mr. Yocum, anyone on the line?
No, Madam Hearing Officer.
Thank you. Again, for the record, there's no one here wanting to speak on this agenda item. Well, once again, the photographs speak for themselves. For every reason, we have a city code, aesthetically, health, safety, sanitation, all of those combined together on this property, and lead me to support your conclusion that it definitely needs to be abated. So I'm going to go ahead and approve your 180-day open abatement request contained in CE 223306.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer.
That concludes our agenda for the year. Any announcements?
Yes, just the one. So our next scheduled hearing officer meeting is set for Tuesday, January 3rd in 2023. That'll be at 5 p.m. here in the Tempe City Council chambers, as well as live on Tempe 11.
Great. Thank you so much. Everyone, happy holidays and happy new year.